Good morning. My name is Patricia Devine, and I'm a member of the Worship and Music Committee. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Welcome to our virtual service with the First Parish Plymouth congregation. These services will be posted on our Facebook page and on YouTube. The first part of our service is recorded. Following the benediction, the recording will end. Then we will go into candles of joy and concern. This section is not recorded. Our service today is entitled Ubuntu and is presented by our minister, Reverend Arthur Lavoie. Our technical director is Paul Melville. We hope you will stay for our virtual coffee hour after the service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, come walk with us this hour. Let us walk together this hour. The call to worship this morning is from Rumi. I am not from east or west, not up from the ground or out of the ocean. My place is placeless, a trace of the traceless. I belong to the beloved.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Arthur Lavoie. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm delighted to be with you this morning. Please join me in reciting the words of our chalice lighting. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn is We Would Be One. Please join in singing.
We would be one as now we building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Ibu Patel is an American Muslim whose family is originally from India. He was raised in the US, absorbing American culture, language, customs, and values. And he sometimes struggles with the different identities that he has to live with. In his book, Acts of Faith, which, by the way, was published by Beacon Press, our UU publishing house, he tells a story about visiting his grandmother in India. He didn't spend much time with her growing up, since their only contacts were her infrequent visits to the US. As a young American kid, he saw her as foreign, with her different culture and devout Muslim practice that was a contrast to his more secular American experience. I woke up one morning, he writes, to find a new woman in the apartment. She looked a little scared and disheveled, and she was wearing a torn white nightgown several sizes too big for her, probably one of my grandmother's old outfits. Who is she? I asked my grandmother. I don't know her real name. The leader of the prayer house brought her here. She is being abused by her father and uncle. We will take care of her until we can find somewhere safe to send her. We will call her Anissa. Mama, what if these crazy men, this father and uncle, come looking for her? Do you think it's safe to keep this woman here? My grandmother looked at me a bit suspiciously. We will check the door before we answer it. And God is with us, she said. Mama, this is crazy. You can't just take strange women into your home and keep them here for weeks or months. This isn't the Underground Railroad, you know. You're old now. This is dangerous. Crazy, huh? She responded. How old are you? 22, he replied. I have been doing this for 45 years. That's more than twice as long as you've been on Earth. This may be the 50th, 60th, 100th person who has come here and been safe. They call me Ashraf Majid. She got up and walked slowly over to the cabinet and took down a box. She lifted the lid and I looked inside and saw a mess of Polaroids. I took pictures of them. She reached into the box and picked up a picture. This one was so pretty. Her father was an alcoholic. Her mother died in a car accident. She was afraid that he would sell her into prostitution for money to drink. We sent her to school to improve her sewing, and we found her a good husband. She has 2 children and started a very successful sewing business. My grandmother started going through the other Polaroids. There was a poor woman with 3 young sons from the south of India who had heard about my grandmother and come for help. A woman from Calcutta who could neither hear nor speak and whose parents had abandoned her. Several girls whose fathers were sexually and physically abusive. My grandmother helped them find jobs or husbands, sent them back to school, or helped them locate family members in other parts of India. She had made little notes on the back of each Polaroid, name, birthday, current address. The more stories she told about the people she had saved, the more I realized how little I knew my grandmother. "Why do you do this?" I finally blurted out. She looked a little shocked that I would ask, as if to say that the answer was self-evident. Just in case it wasn't clear to me, she said simply, "I am a Muslim. This is what Muslims do." Sometime later, when Patel was studying for his doctorate at Oxford in England, he met a Muslim scholar there who knew of his grandmother half a world away. Ashraf Majid, as they called her, was well known and revered globally for her work saving women. Bishop Desmond Tutu, the Anglican bishop from South Africa, spent many years of his ministry as a critic of the apartheid system. Yet he also had a major role in crafting the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that helped bring the country together after the dismantling of apartheid. Tutu's view of humanity, his theology of human nature, is developed from the African word Ubuntu. Tutu is from the Xhosa people, and his sense of Ubuntu derives from the Xhosa expression Ubuntu ungamtu ngabanye abantu, which roughly translated means each individual's humanity is ideally expressed in relationship with others, or a person depends on other people to be a person. In Desmond Tutu's theology of Ubuntu, there are no substantial differences between us. We are all made of the same substance, and the categories of tribe, race, class, age, sexual orientation, gender, identity, ability, all of these have little meaning if we are truly one. If we all come from this same source, then we are all united, all one. And our well-being is not an individual pursuit, but depends on the whole. It is only in this connection with each other, only in community, that we can be fully human. The Ubuntu theology can be a radical shift for us and can stand against some of the ways we in the Western world have organized our thinking. We often see the individual having the highest value as standing apart from the community. We applaud individual initiative. My personhood is often defined through what I possess or the value of what I produce. And truth is found in my own thinking and in my own rational capacities. Self-actualization is one of our greatest values. Our interest can be very self-focused and self-centered. I'm looking out for my own good, the good of the whole community, the whole of humanity, the whole of creation is perhaps only of interest when I have taken care of myself first. Tutu writes, "A self-sufficient human being is subhuman. I have gifts that you do not have, so consequently I am unique. You have gifts that I do not have, so you are unique. God has made us so that we will need each other. We are made for a delicate network of interdependence." Ubuntu, and our Universalist theology remind us that life is abundant. It's filled with blessings, that each of us must have access to all of the goodness of life. We diminish that blessing when we hoard it, and blessings grow exponentially when we give them away. When I was growing up, my maternal grandfather was a key figure in the local Portuguese community. He had been in the United States for many years. He owned a successful business and had gotten to know all of the local politicians and civic leaders. When someone needed help of any kind, they would come to my grandfather. Sometimes they needed a loan or a job or an apartment to rent for family members who were about to immigrate. Sometimes they had gotten in trouble for not knowing how things work here. Back in the small villages in Portugal, when you wanted to open a shop, for example, you just got some merchandise and hung out your sign. Here, there were permits and inspections and all kinds of hoops to go through. So my grandfather would help. He would know where to turn. He would know who to go to. Many called him Padrino, the Portuguese word for godfather. We all thought that was hysterical because the Godfather books and movies were coming out. We kind of had this fantasy that we were part of a Portuguese mafia. But his role in that community embodied the most positive aspects of what the word Padrino, or godfather, could mean. I remember asking him once why he did this, why he helped so many people. As in the case of Ibu Patel's grandmother, he seemed surprised by the question and said something like, "Life has been good to me. People helped me when I first came here. I do this because I can. This is what good Christians do. This is what good Christians, good Muslims, good people do of any faith, tradition, or none. This is what it means to be a good human being. And it's not something out of the ordinary. The question why is really an inappropriate question. Perhaps the better question is how. How will you and I live out our religious and our human values? How will we be engaged in helping others? How will we pass on the blessings we have been given? How will we sacrifice our self-centeredness and see our deep connection and responsibility and accountability to all of creation? Here at First Parish in Plymouth, I have found that the spirit of Ubuntu is alive and well. This community brings people together. It gives you opportunities to share your gifts and blessings and be supported by the gifts and blessings of others. And we here at First Parish need your financial support to continue to be a thriving church community that can do all that. Today, we are beginning our pledge drive for the fiscal year, which will begin on July 1st. In order to prepare a balanced budget, we need to know what each of you thinks you might be able to give to support the ministry of this church. We know that circumstances might change, and you may not be able to follow through with your pledge, or on the other hand, you might be able to give more. Adjustments can always be made. What we are asking for is your best estimate And the pledge brochure kind of looks like this. You should have received it in the mail Friday or yesterday. The pledge brochure can help you to think about and to calculate that. In a couple of minutes, you will be divided into groups with your pledge captain who will guide you in the process. We are not asking you to make your actual pledge today. There's a form you can mail in, or your pledge captain will contact you at a later date to talk with you more specifically. The gatherings today are more to talk about your vision and understanding of the church and what it is we do here. Any of you who are visitors today or haven't been regular pledgers will be in a group with me to talk more about what the church means to us and could mean to you. These breakout groups will not be recorded. They'll be going on for about 15 minutes. That's why we've condensed the front part of the service. Ubuntu is one word that can describe your dynamic interconnectedness, our recognition that we are not alone, and that all of our actions affect and depend on this interdependent web of which we are a part. If we act only with ourselves in mind, we tear at the fabric that binds us together. We succeed only at the success of all. We are whole and holy and healthy only when we all share together the bounty and blessings of this life. Amen. And blessed be. And now we'll ask Paul to do his magic and divide us up. We are back. Thank you all for your time in the groups and the things you've shared, and for the group leaders. I think it's time for our closing hymn, Sound Over All Waters, number 122, and Paul's going to put up the words.
Sound over all waters, reach out from all hands. The
So as a kind of benediction, I just want to reflect with you on where we were a year ago. A year ago, there were 5 Sundays in March. We had the first 2 Sundays, the 1st and the 8th, live. March 15th, which would be like this weekend, we were closed, didn't have any service. For the Sunday of March 22nd, I recorded a reading and a sermon at the PAC TV station in Carver, and that was sent out as a link. And then within a couple of days, they had closed as well. And we had to reformulate how we were going to try to be together. And with a lot of help and support from Paul and other folks, we kind of figured out how to do Zoom. And from March 29th on, we have been able to gather here on Sunday mornings and give everyone the opportunity to be part of these services through YouTube and Facebook. That's remarkable if we look at what happened in that short period of time and how we were able to stay connected and to practice this theology of Ubuntu, that we are a community, that we depend on each other and have done that this year like no other. Thank you so much for your participation today. Thank you so much for the pledges that you will make to support this congregation and for whatever financial support you're able to give. It is really important for us to be together. It's really important to be here, providing this liberal religious community for folks in Plymouth. Please join me in celebrating and honoring this community, all that you are and all that you've given. Amen and blessed be.
And this piece was written for this community by Peter Dudensing. And please sing along if you know the words. In this place we gather together, join our hearts to find the way, answer questions from all the ages, look ahead to another day in this place. In this place we know the story of the pilgrims upon this shore. We bring faith